somebody's attention. String theory and God particles and the Big Bang. If we had time, my best talent is actually cooking. And I would have brought stuff and made the whole place smell like spaghetti meatballs and all that, okay? Spaghetti meatballs, well done, is quite a task to me. There's a big difference between the stuff out of a can and meatballs out of the freezer section and so forth and making them from scratch. And the scientists say that out of nothing came our universe. I'll agree with that. I'm on that. But they say that there was no intelligent design, that it was purely accident. And so they throw all these different theories at it, try to make it work out. The irony is, for most of time, scientists argued against the idea of something called the Big Bang, because that meant there was a beginning. And the first thing we believe as Christians is, there's a beginning. God said there was a beginning, so there's a beginning. And the Big Bang Theory also supports the fact that something or someone or whatever made this happen. Now, they don't like to say it that way. They come up with all kinds of ways to say it. And I'm not going to get into string theory. That's the thing that kind of holds everything in place. And they look for the God particles and they spent millions of dollars and blah, blah, blah anyway. And all that kind of cracks me up, because I'm going to show you a really good example in just a minute that will make you laugh if you really understand. It is important, however, that you understand that when someone reads this book who's not Christian, particularly if they're a scientist, and they're looking for probabilities, and they're looking for reason, and they're looking for some way to explain it, they're going to struggle with this book. Because unless you believe in God, it's just hard to believe. Next slide. I just paraphrased and wrote that. You know how you used to see those signs on the side of the road, God said whatever? I thought this was good. I put, in the beginning, I created the heavens and the earth. God. That's what he said. Line 1, first verse of the Bible. This is what I say. Science cannot prove whether or not the existence of God is true. It's outside of anything they can understand. But God can prove whether or not science is true. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Go ahead. This guy, he was famous in his day. His name's Herbert Spencer. I think it was 1882 when he wrote the paper that got him all these awards. And he's an English philosopher, agnostic, evolutionist, and an award-winning scientist. And he really was thought to be the somebody in his day. And Herbert outlined 5 ultimate scientific ideas: time, force, action, space, and matter. Everything that, here's what he said, everything that can be known or observed by science fits into one of these 5 categories, and nothing can be truly said to exist outside of them. There's no room for anything spiritual in these categories. They are based on a materialistic presupposition that there is nothing outside of these 5 areas. Okay. That's what he said. He was a classification specialist. In other words, he could put things in categories. I have to laugh at that because the ultimate classification specialist is God. Because, he parted the water from the stuff. He divided everything. He caused all the things to be that they are. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going to give you this. In the beginning, time, force is God. Action is created. Space, the heavens, and matter, the earth. Now, just to give you a little bit of the funny, this guy, when he was young, even though he was an agnostic, hung out with his uncle, who was a preacher. I think he plagiarized the Bible to come up with his theory. That's just what I'm saying. He stole it. He read it, didn't realize he stole it, but you have to understand that it's just mind-boggling that there are so many people in this world that deny the existence of God, that are scientists, because it's not probable, it's not reasonable, it's not likely. But if you go back in time, almost every one of the scientists of their day were Christians. Aristotle, Einstein. I have a long list, but my brain is short right now, but basically anybody before about 1800 that was a scientist of note was Christian. So they had no problem believing in a God, a creator. And And one of the things that you learn as you study the Bible and you learn about who God is, we call God holy. And holiness, we envision this idea of perfectness, but in reality, holy is something other. And so when I think about the way they think about the Big Bang Theory and how all this works, if God is something other, that other is outside of this universe. Yet he interacts and controls and makes this place possible. And just like me trying to make spaghetti and meatballs, who in here is a horrible cook or who can't cook at all? Anybody? Raise your hand. Anybody brave enough? Nobody? Y'all all cook? Well, y'all go Southern folks. That's awesome. But if I threw just the ingredients up on the screen, all of the ingredients for spaghetti and meatballs, I would imagine if I didn't give you any directions, there would probably be a lot of different final results that came out. Our universe is not like that. There is a God in control. There's a God who's fine-tuning every single thing so that we might have life. And you only have to do a little bit of research to figure out that conditions are absolutely perfect only on planet Earth and only because of God. If any of us could ever get our hands on the dials, even for a moment,